Check, check, check. Hello, everybody. I'm going to wait to see if a few more people join. I see you in there, Valdi. And I really want to see if I can get this live stream to work with the phone calls. I've got it connected up to the phone bridge, but I'm having a little bit of trouble keeping the bandwidth up on the stream. So I don't know how long this is going to work for. But I'm gonna go get a drink, and we'll get started at about 11 minutes. Looks like. Let's just try for 11 minutes. But we're gonna see if some more people join in, and I would really love it if somebody would try the call in once we get the show rolling. So I'll be back in a little bit. All right, we are doing it live. We are doing it live. How are you all doing, friends? I'm just going to fiddle with some things here real quick. Try to set up the shot. Hey, so are y'all enjoying the lockdown? Let me get the things configured a little bit better. So it's the lockdown show here on the Bill Houston podcast, and we've got a couple of people in the chat right now, and I see Valdi, and we have John Solak on the line, and I'm going to try to bring John on, and let's just have open phone lines. So during the live stream, the number that's up on the screen right there, that's the number to call, 712-770-4726. And the access code is 954763. Now, I did experience trouble getting in. I was getting busy signals. I was getting two kinds, the slow and the fast, which means circuits are busy. You might have trouble trying to get into the voice system. And it's a chat, so you're going to be connected to all of the other speakers. I might put all speakers on mute until while one person is talking, and bring people on one at a time. We'll see how that goes. So this is a big experiment. I'm really pushing my computer to the limits right now. I'm pushing my internet bandwidth to its limits as well. I got to make one little change here, try to get rid of some of that fuzz up there. Okay, so let's try to bring on John Solak to the lockdown show, and let's see what's going on with John. All right, so stand by. Let me just figure out what I'm doing here. Okay, so let's take this off of mute. Uh-oh. I gotta turn this down. Just stand by, John. Okay, and then how do I actually hear? I gotta go to, sorry, this one. John, are you there?
Yes, I am, Bill.
So can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine.
Yes.
Hey, great.
Hi. I got on. This is Baldi.
Hey, we got John and Valdi. So you two are both going to be polite and not talking over top of each other. So let's just, I have the capability of kind of muting, hold on. I got to kill this thing. Stand by. Okay, just hold on 1 second, because I just want to try to set this up so I can monitor what's going on.
Going to be polite and talking over top of each other. So let's just, I have the capability of kind of muting.
Where am I hearing? I'm getting feedback from someplace, and I'm not sure how I'm getting the feedback in. Let me turn the music off. Okay. So, John, say something. John or Valdi, go ahead and try to just...
I'll say hello.
Okay. So, John, what's going on in your neck of the woods? Are you in lockdown? Are you observing the orders?
Well, if I am, but it corresponds with my prior activities. However, I won't be bullied. I won't be, if it comes to that, I'm not going to submit to this, what I term obsessive compliance disorder.
Yeah, so why do you think it's obsessive?
Well, first we'd have to ask, what's a good job in handling COVID-19 versus you can't have it both ways. So we'd have to know, what they're saving us from. If have numerous people saying that we're going to get it anyway, then it's up to our own individual immune systems, not the government, to handle it. They've killed the economy. What I object to is the closure of the courts. Courts are pretty much locked down for both civil and criminal matters. This thing with the Department of Justice seeking judicial authority to just essentially mothball any actions brought forth, both civil and criminal, is troubling. Because I can't run to a court and say the city is not complying with the governor's new directive on open meetings, which requires them not only to maintain a telephonic stream, not an internet stream, and also after the meeting produce a written transcript. Now, I've tried to get the written transcripts from the city, but they don't have the inclination to comply with the law. But they do want me to comply with the law, and I've been kept out of 2 meetings now.
You've been kept out of 2 meetings for what reason? Just because, can you just explain?
Well, they've cited this emergency declaration made by the mayor of COVID-19. Some people refer to more than 10 people in the meeting room. They've moved the meeting from the city council chambers to the art gallery on the 2nd floor. They have set up a crude stream. The audio is questionable. For Monday night's work session, there was no such stream. Jeff Platsky, however, was given special mention. Now, the mayor of the city of Binghamton has taken over the second branch of government. He seems to be calling the shots, not council, for the meetings. So it's going to be interesting to see if they are going to take the time and trouble to type up a transcript and present it to me.
So, John, you cut out there for a second. I'm very fascinated by what you're saying here. You said something about Jeff Platsky, and then you kind of cut out for a little bit. Jeff Platsky is. Can you say that again, please?
Yeah. Monday night's work session, which I was the only member of the public that was barred from there because I was the only member of the public to show up. Jeff Platsky came in, and he said he was granted special permission by the mayor of the city of Binghamton to attend that meeting. So apparently the mayor controls the ebb and flow of citizens that want to go to Binghamton City Council meetings.
Very interesting. Valdi, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here. Yeah, I'm being polite.
Yeah. So thank you. I appreciate that. And so what's going on in your neck of the woods, and how are you coping, and what are you observing about this this completely unprecedented event that's going on right now?
Well, we're just trying to stay away from people as much. We do a minimum amount of shopping only when we really need something, and we still go out for walks. We went to the neighborhood around Round Top yesterday, and we actually walked to the top of Round Top the day before and found a new trail that, actually it's an old trail that they've cleared it again, that goes from the south side of the top of Round Top near house, and then goes southwest down that steep hill diagonally, then below the neighborhood that's on the west side of Round Top, and then connect the mode. I didn't even know there was that trail before, but now it's marked with aluminum markers that have been nailed loosely to trees, and there's some yellow painted blazes as well, and it's kind of neat. There's some really big trees there. The pileated woodpecker nest. We saw it go in and stay in for a while, and in a slender, tall pine tree. And that's kind of cool.
Have you ever seen there's some kind of a well on the top of Round Top? I don't know whether it's a water well or an abandoned gas, oil or gas well. Have you seen what I'm talking about?
There's two right near the parking lot is at the top there, and if you go southeast and you look at the guardrail and look just beyond this new trail, they have swept away leaves, and it's bare now. And there's two concrete, roughly three boxes that have steel covers. One of them, they're hinged. They're very old, and I never knew they were there before. But I didn't pull the leaves out from inside the one that's open to see what's in there. But that's weird. And then down at the bottom of the there is some sort of concrete structure with a door that you can walk in, I guess, for access to maintenance. That might be part of a water boosting pump to provide more pressure to get the water all the way to the top of the, where the restrooms are, or maybe something to do with some other thing related to sewage, maybe. I have no idea, but those are my guesses on that.
Yeah, somewhere near one of those, when you first get up to the top, you can make a left. The road splits, and you can make a left. And somewhere over there, I just remember seeing this rusty pipe sticking out of the ground, and I just thought it was quite curious. John, feel free to jump in if there's anything that you want to comment on, or feel free to change the subject, or what do you see? So Valdy's over here on the Endicott side of things, and you're in Binghamton. So what do you see in Binghamton? Are there a lot of cars on the road? Do you see people walking around, walking their dogs?
Yeah, there's actually a jam up with dogs, and some neighbors are posting signs for the dogs to stay off their lawn. So it's sort of like a LAX or something. You have to choose your route carefully and glide in to the business at hand.
Yeah, so, I mean...
But the shocking thing...
Go ahead.
On a more substantive note, I've received a report from hospital employees, and I'm talking about our community hospital, Wilson Hospital, UHS, the management company, that there is a nightly parade of ambulances from out of the region coming into Wilson Hospital. And from the same people are COVID-19 cases that are being reported. So we'll see if that pans out. Going to be doing some diligence out in front there and see if we can see some of these ambulances that they're talking about.
So, yeah, that's interesting. And you say they're coming in from out of the area. That's what you heard.
Right. This is not, they're saying that it's a regional hospital. Now you can sort of imagine where the region is, but this would certainly be bordered by Bassett, which is to the west, and or to the east and west of Elmira and their hospitals. So these are cases that are coming farther away from that. So either there's death cases for some reason are being referred here. The further alarming fact is, and I mean it's just a fact, you can look it up at CMS or Becker's Hospital Review, that these two local hospitals have had very bad track records with the past infections, the hospital-borne infections, and controlling them. So this is not a good situation.
Valdi, you heard, I don't know if you heard John earlier say, I mean, John was, I forget the exact word that John used, but he mentioned that something like that this reaction that he thought was, what did you say, John? Did you say, I want to say extreme, but I think you used a different word. Um,
You mean it's telling us what to do?
well, yeah, so,
Yeah, I mean, look,
go ahead.
look, anybody can listen to the president's briefings, to the governor's briefings, and distill that information. I don't think we need a local yokel and tell us, how many cases. And there was a death, of course, at Lord's, which, to my knowledge, a death certificate is a public record, and that death certificate certainly would have a cause of death. And there's no confidentiality or HIPAA once a person is deceased. That sort of ends that. So for this name not to come out, particularly the fact is, if this was a person that was in circulation somewhere, you would want to know that.
So have you tried to...
Apparently,
Go ahead.
oh, and apparently the person was in circulation. Might have been a younger person, because the guards did say that they were trying to track down the movements of that person. So this obviously doesn't refer to some sort of invalid that was in a nursing home or something like that.
So did I hear you say you actually tried to obtain this this death certificate, John?
Oh, no, I haven't done that. What I tried to obtain is the transcript for the meetings that the governor's new directive. When public participation is banned from open meetings, they must type up a complete verbatim transcript. And this, of course, is the same directive that they used to keep me out of the meetings, but now they're having trouble complying with the rest of that directive.
I gotcha. You're cutting out a little bit, but I did hear you say that that you tried to obtain the transcript, and apparently whenever they have some emergency that causes them to close meetings to the public, that they actually have to provide this transcript to the public. I just wanted to try to bring Valdi back in. Valdi, do you think that this is an appropriate response to everything we're seeing?
Well, I have been looking at the rise in deaths, and up until yesterday, the number of new deaths in the United States was still increasing. So what I'm going to repeat again, it's the number of new deaths, not the total. Those numbers up until yesterday were actually increasing. So now it's as of today, and yes, I guess yesterday's total too. I think the actions they've taken so far, primarily in New York State, have reduced the new deaths. And what I'm looking at is the totals in what's called worldometers.info, I think it is, and they track on a bar graph both the total deaths as well as the new deaths reported each day, but they don't always update it on the same time period on the day. Sometimes they miss a day because maybe reports aren't coming in fast enough, or whoever runs the site hasn't had a chance to do it, or for whatever reason. But the number of new deaths being reported reducing over the last couple of days is a good sign, and I think that is primarily because New York State has started to turn the corner on at least new deaths. And you can't fake new deaths unless somebody is just making up numbers, because like John Solak said, there's going to be death certificates, there's going to be obituaries. So, I mean, new cases, that's going to fluctuate because number one, we're not really doing enough testing to really know what's a real case and what's not a real case, what's just a suspected case. And then it'll fluctuate as well. Doing more testing, those numbers are going to surge. But the number of deaths, that's a more reliable number. So I was watching that more closely than the number of new deaths. And it was really alarming 3 days ago because it was still accelerating. And now it's starting to reduce. And I hope that it stays that way. If it does, then we're doing the right thing here.
John, feel free to jump in any time. I'm just going to comment back and just say that, this is just another question, Valdi, because, I've been expressing some skeptical views about the severity of this in comparison with an ordinary flu. I know this is not a flu. I know this is a different kind of a virus. But it is a valid, and I think it's a necessary challenge for us to do comparative studies. And everything that I'm looking at is showing me that this is right now, or when I first looked at this, when everything started, when the lockdown and the quarantines and the martial law kind of started, was about maybe a week ago. It was this whole thing was orders of magnitude below an ordinary flu. So I just wanted to ask you what your thoughts are about this. I do understand that there are deaths, but there's always deaths from the flu. There are always people that are getting sick. Are you convinced, Valdi, and you are an engineer and you're a very smart guy, are you convinced that this alleged pandemic that is so severe that it's shutting down national borders, shutting down states, interstate borders, shutting down government offices, schools, businesses, everything. This is completely unprecedented in my lifetime, and I'm sure it's the same in yours. I don't think any of us have ever seen anything like this before. Do you believe that this is truly an appropriate response, and this is significantly different than an ordinary flu year?
Well, from what have been reading now, again, you've got to rely on sources being truthful, and I don't see any reason why they would make this stuff up. There's this disease. Some people, even if they recover, they're losing 20 to 30% of their lung function. And that's a big deal. That means that if they are just walking down the street, they're going to end up gasping for breath. So if those reports are accurate, this is more severe in terms of its result on people that recover than normal flu. And the other thing is the infection rate is much higher according to reported numbers. And the death rate is higher than the normal flu as well. So of course those are subject. Are people just copying the same stuff from the same source, and maybe that source is inaccurate? I can't answer that because I haven't delved into this deeply enough to know where this is coming from. But I can't, after all this time, that somebody is just faking this and nobody has discovered that this is just based on nonsense, because it's not just China, it's also Italy, United Kingdom. They're pretty good at gathering data, and I don't think that they would be faking this stuff, because what would be the reason to fake it? What would be the motivation as to what people are trying to accomplish? It be the United States if there's some nefarious nonsense that people are trying to pull the wool over people's eyes to accomplish something behind the scenes, because they could do much of this anyway, which they have been doing in terms of corporations squeezing workers and getting government handouts and favoritism and all that stuff. So why would you need to do this massive shutdown of people's movement and, like you said, meetings and schools, and even the court system is now kind of on delay. because what's the goal? What can they do that they otherwise wouldn't do?
John, I'm going to throw the same question over to you, and feel free to respond to what Valdi said. So what I heard you say before, John, when I asked you this was, it seemed like you said there was a little problem with the connection at the time, but it seemed like, John, that you said that you were more upset with the Binghamton mayor basically instituting his own kind of martial law that kind of superseded what Governor Cuomo was recommending. So, but I want to ask you specifically, John, do you feel like this pandemic is a real thing, or do you think it's getting overblown? And then feel free to answer Valdi's question as to what somebody's motivation would be for overblowing this.
Well, so I care of my own health. I was on a 35-year hiatus from the health establishment personally until I don't with anything that's been said. So my major concern, and I think it's affecting my health, is being restricted on my freedom. That because let's say it live free or die. I have a thermometer here. So I'm made in match at a 98 point reading on it. There were both that before, but I don't want to be in charge of the public health, but I don't want $1,200 in exchange for my freedom. And you gentlemen understanding, and I'm a good friend of the person that does the security for city council meetings, and he sort of got upset at me. He said, "Sure," and I said, "Well, I have to have a record." He was, and assume, at some point tempers are going to flare, and I assume that I will be involved in some sort of incident just for exercising my freedom. But I am, again, I leave the public health, although to me, the fact this malaria treatment seems to me to be looks like a winner to me, because the Chinese go back and forth from Africa all the time, and it would have swept through there by now. To me, it's either the hot weather or the fact that these people. I'm going for some elderberry. Happiness depends on attending and seeing what's going on. So that's my major concern now. My own health I take care of. My immune system will have to do the job. I'm not into tempting fate, but that's where it is for me. But I'm concerned about the encroachment of freedom. Now, for example, if any politician wants to declare martial law, then what consequences of that decision? What we have here is the hybrid. It's a bunch of nonsense. They think it's so too much outside. I don't know what it is, but when you go down and you start shutting down businesses, And I'm really surprised, I'm really shocked that the churches have knuckled under to state control. I mean, you'd think there'd be one snake handler out there that would have a showdown with the government on the freedom of religion issue. I'm surprised, but this shows you that there's more cowards than ever, and they have to state one other thing, Bill. My concern is this: on any given day, people snap for a variety of reasons. If we have one incident, say at your last gathering spot, I guess, or the grocery stores, if we have one gun-related incident of any nature near or in a grocery store, then this will send the country into a complete tizzy. Already, the federal troops are on the ground in Baltimore. So I think, to me, I think asking people to do this for more than 3 or 4 days, I don't think it's going to last. Even if while they're waiting for their 1,200, no, I don't think it's going to last at all.
Yeah. Valdi, were you able to hear that okay? And do you have any comments, any feedback on what John said?
Yeah, I heard it. Your voice, Bill, is stronger than the feed from John, but I heard it well enough. I kind of agree with John's thinking that if we have some type of a gun-related incident, a shooting or whatever, associated with somebody trying to get something stupid like toilet paper or food or whatever, then that's probably going to end up being a really big incident in terms of news and reaction to it. And other than that, there's always the danger that somebody could misuse this type of situation for the wrong reasons. But I still can't fathom what would be the good side of this in terms of somebody looking to do something that they otherwise can't already do. I know that canceling meetings and making them or not making records of them available when they're supposed to, maybe they'll catch up later. I hope they do. It doesn't make sense to me to keep a council member out of a meeting if they're allowing a reporter to come in to a meeting. That makes me, but.
I don't think John said they kept out a council member. I think John said they kept him out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just a member of the public,
Okay.
Now, can I make a comment on basically you're asking about the motivation, and I can't say what the motivation is exactly, but I can speculate, because let's just look at 9/11 and the Patriot Act. 9/11, no matter what you believe about 9/11, about what really happened and who was responsible for it, whether it was a false flag or whatever, and there's a lot of legitimate inquiry now, such as architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth, that are they're zooming in on building 7, and they're just saying that it's very unusual that a building, that 3 buildings were brought down in New York City by 2 airplanes, and structural fires have never brought down a building like that before. So that's what they're focusing on. And at 9/11, no matter what you believe about what that was and who was behind it, I think we all can agree that the government used that event in order to institute sweeping, a suspension of constitutional law, constitutional rights. Wasn't exactly martial law, but suddenly we had, Homeland Security people all over the place. We had TSA was created in the airports. So these kinds of events have been used in the past by, fascistic elements within our government to seize even more control. And the other thing is, we have to look at the stock market crash as being, there's a lot of things that are coincident with this. There's the stock market crash, for one thing, which is a very curious timing that it's related to this. And people are saying the market crash was a reaction to the COVID virus or the COVID disease, and I question whether that is not maybe backwards, but or the reaction to the COVID, what I would call a very minor disease, about equivalent to an ordinary influenza year. In terms of casualties, in terms of the rate, we can talk about those numbers. I've done a lot of looking at those numbers. I can speak about that. But the point is that, the government has used these events in the past to seize illegitimate power and to gain new powers. And, there's just a lot of interesting connections and possible side effects to this. Go ahead, jump in.
Isn't it interesting that we've seen this unbelievable sea change? Now the concern is that the ventilators and the prescription drugs come from China. So the whole thing that Nixon started, and we are very much in the Nixon era, the going off the gold standard and the relationship with China now has gone full circle. I tell you the truth, Bill, I think that what they did with the stock market, and Trump jinxed it, of course, by making it an issue at the rallies. That was a tell beyond belief. This is the thing where there's going to be massive amounts of fraud because they're telling business people that they can go in and get government-backed loans that will be forgiven to meet payroll. It's going to be a massive fraud. It's going to be a massive redirection of the economy. And essentially what we're saying is there was a lot of businesses that were failing, and people were looking for a blanket excuse. So this is the blanket excuse that every bad decision that had nothing to do with this is going to be used. Well, everything was fine until COVID-19, and everything wasn't fine. But the government reaction to this thing, I think, is very, very big. It's going to have a complete backlash. I can't. So far, you got to say one thing for the American people of any race, creed, or color. The things now are more subdued than ever. So obviously, this government control or the goodwill of the citizens is working to some extent.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say about the stock market. Is that we're basically back. The stock market, the Dow, is back to the point right now where it was at when Trump was first sworn in. So a lot of people are calling this the Trump bubble. The Trump bubble has burst. Everybody was fearing. This is one of the coincident events that I think is significant, is the U.S. presidential election, because here we have this this highly controversial president that we have now. The country is highly polarized between people that really hate Trump or people that really love Trump. And there's probably not a lot of fence sitters. So this is very much in play right now. Well, and then suddenly we have elections, primary elections being postponed. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, how about this one? You're familiar with the nominating petition process, and there's something called the opportunity to ballot, which essentially takes place after the parties declare their candidates for the ballot. there is an opportunity for party members of that party, any party, to collect signatures and have essentially in. This is done if there's no, for example, the Republicans do not have a candidate for assembly. You can file now, pretty soon now, there's going to be a chance to get signatures and have a write-in primary. There's a bill in the state legislature that's part of this emergency, all this emergency stuff, that does away with the opportunity to ballot petitions. So you see there, and this, by the way, can be used by people like Alex Cortez, where there's a strong one-party candidate, and an outsider could slip in. So it's clear that the powers that be don't want any political competition, as always.
You still there, Valdi?
Yes, I'm still here.
Yeah, so jump in any time. I'm going to try to fill in the gaps if nobody's talking, but feel free to jump in if anything anybody says. That's just going to be the general the general rule, since there's just three of us. I think it is working a little bit better right now. That I was trying to. It's complicated. I don't even want to explain it, but I cut back on my internet load on my primary computer, and the stream health seems to be doing better now. Although John is still cutting out. I wonder, John, if do you have a satellite phone, or do you use voice over IP? Because I'm getting Valdi a lot more clear than you are.
No, just your Spectrum, your favorite Time Warner connection.
Okay, so you are using a Time Warner phone. That's voice over IP. Okay, so that explains it. I think that your cutouts might be related to Time Warner network issues, because Valdi is coming through a lot more clear.
Yeah, I'm using a regular landline. I'm still old school here, and in many situations this works better, and we have not cut out our landline, because here, if we try to use a cell phone, that can be spotty depending on weather and whatever else is going on. So we still keep our landline. But yeah, I hear you, both of you, in terms of the concerns, in terms of the government trying to ramp up surveillance, and now with potential delays in elections and maybe some other clampdowns on possible people getting onto a ballot and that type of thing. That's certainly a big concern. But still, it seems odd to me that they would do something like this where it accelerates the damage to the economy to this degree, that somebody would do this on purpose. At least so far. I mean, maybe I could be proved wrong, but if they wanted to do something, that's really evil, I would have thought they started it in a more severe. The federal government is sort of hanging back and not doing much of anything other than the news that they're trying to ask for extra powers in the Department of Justice. But if the Congress resists that, then that kind of gets stopped. So I'm still not all that worried about that type of thing. But yeah, the economy, that's a pretty severe hit here.
And this is.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Finish up.
Yeah, and certainly some companies will profiteer off of this, and some will beg for extra bailout money, which they don't deserve. And like these airlines, I saw reports that United Airlines has done so much stock buybacks that and executive bonuses that to me, they should basically, the executive should be required to return the bonuses, and there should be no money is used for stock buybacks. And really, to me, any stimulus should be direct to the people, not to corporations. Corporations, they've got assets. They can weather this much better than people can. There's people out there that were already suffering before this crisis got so bad, and now there's all these people that are losing their jobs, their income. They're wondering how they're going to pay their next bill and how they're going to put food on the table, and so they should hurry up and give people money directly. And I don't care if they paid taxes last year or not. It doesn't matter. Just give people money, and it shouldn't be based on needs testing or any of that stuff. Just make it simple for billionaires. If they get a check, $1,000 or $2,000 a month or whatever is decided, that's nothing to them. I don't even care if they get those checks. Just send it to everybody and just end the argument.
Well, that's interesting, Valdi, because that was the Richard Nixon, Daniel Patrick Moynihan thing when Nixon said to Moynihan, "Why don't we just so?"
John, you cut out.
Nixon was enamored with.
Moynihan said what? You cut out.
Nixon was not enamored with the. Nixon, who had Daniel Patrick Moynihan working for him at the time, said, "Why don't we just send everybody a check and forget about all the red tape and bureaucratic tests that are involved, negative income tax, if you will."
Interesting. I don't remember that. That's
Yeah.
So you're saying
Nixon wasn't fascinated by domestic policy. He just viewed it as a pain in the ass. He just wanted to get it over with, and he said, "Well, let's just send everybody a check."
So, are you saying that this concept of universal basic income that we attribute to Andrew Yang, a Democrat, really was maybe started by Richard Nixon, a Republican, back in 1970 or something?
Well, sure, because you've got people that go through all kinds of conniptions to get on SSI or something. They're just trying to get an income for themselves. Whether it's valid or not, it doesn't make any difference. So yeah, the constituency that, of course, would prevent it are social workers, the people that run the hoop system. If you just passed out money, there'd be a lot of unemployed people in the social welfare system that are the gatekeepers.
Wow.
Not to mention the attorneys, by the way, that virtually everybody that say applies for SSI or Social Security Disability at the onset is denied, and the legal fees that go to the attorneys in these cases are just enormous. So you'd end that one too.
So, Valdi and John, I have a little video here I would like to play, and I'm going to play just a couple of minutes of this, and I'd like to get your reaction to it, okay? This is somebody named Claudia Stauber. Valdi, you might have seen me post this on Facebook. Let me see if I can... I'm going to see if I can play this, and hopefully you will be able to hear it. So let me know if you can hear this.
Hi, guys.
On mute, and I'm just going to type my response to your question on the internet chat on your YouTube channel.
Okay, you're gonna you got a response to what John. You can just say it if you want to. If you got something on your mind right now, go ahead, and I'll play this in a second.
Well, the reason is because there's a delay between our phone conversation versus when it comes on the internet, and you're going to end up with a circular loop here with the voice coming.
No. I think I figured out a way how to make it work, Valdi, so you're not going to get a loop. So if you just listen on the phone the way you're listening to me on the phone right now, you should be able to hear the video I'm going to play.
Oh, okay. All right. Fine.
So you want to listen to it right now? You want to try to see if you can hear it?
Sure.
Okay, stand by. John, you still there?
Yes.
Okay, stand by. Here we go. I would just like to get your feedback on this. It's 10 minutes. I don't think I'm going to play the whole thing. I'm just going to play a couple of minutes and then get your feedback. So here we go. I'm going to give it a try. This is Claudia Stauber.
Hi, guys. It's Claudia with Cabin Talk, and I just left my Vermont governor a message.
Can you hear that okay?
Yep.
Boy, it's really faint.
Okay, I'll try to bump it up, Valdi. Hold on.
Hi guys, it's Claudia with Cabin Talk, and I just left my Vermont governor a message on the phone. And you might say, well, that doesn't do anything, and that might be true, but here is pretty much my message that I left him. Hi guys, it's Claudia with Cabin Talk, and I just left my Vermont governor a message on the phone. And you might say, well, that doesn't do anything, and that might be true, but here is pretty much my message that I left him. I said, who are we as Vermonters? Because where in the hell does it make a difference whether we sit in a restaurant where the tables are spread out anyway and have dinner with a person that we know and that is safe from the goddamn virus, or whether people go in and out to pick up their food? I mean, what are we doing? And I said to him, are you going to support big corporations because that's all that we're going to have left in this country? Or are you going to support small businesses? Because with the actions we're taking right now, we're going to destroy all of them. All of them. Because all the small businesses are revving it down, down, down till we have none left. And they cannot afford to stay in business if they have no customers and nothing for a few months. They have rent to pay. They have insurances that are astronomical, and they will be gone. And we all need to call our governors and our representatives, because this is unconscionable. And you know what? It's going to kill so many goddamn people, many more than the virus could have ever killed. Because so many people will have no income, no money coming in, no place to stay anymore, will lose their places, their homes. A lot of people will goddamn starve to death if we don't do anything. Because the New York Times already said this morning this could last 18 months and there will be shortages. Excuse me, is anybody listening to what is actually going on? This is a corporate coup. This is an absolute corporate coup to take over any business, period. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of what they are doing. And if we say yes to all of that, then good luck to the kids and grandkids, to everybody. Seriously. Dr.
Okay, check. So let me start that one more time, because I wasn't that my audio wasn't getting out to the stream. I'm sorry about that. So Claudia, just to recap, Claudia Stauber was just saying that basically, the disease is basically relatively small, and there would be some casualties from it, but the casualties from the shutdown are going to be way more severe than the casualties of the virus itself. What do either of you have any comments on that?
You can't disagree with it. Here's the interesting thing. I think that the right and left wing, the extremists of both parties, are going to have a great alliance on this issue.
Yes. What do you think, Valdi?
Well, I agree with the woman's concern in terms of small businesses. yeah, they're going to be the ones that are going to be having the most difficult time. Many of them, and certainly their employees, will be suffering. So I really hope that the small businesses are the ones that are given priority in terms of funds to provide assistance for them. You know, we know people here that have small businesses ourselves, and this is a massive hit because the U.S. economy, a lot of it is the service industry. We've got restaurants, hotels, bars. All those places are now basically have just a trickle of business, if any. So that is a big, huge concern.
I'm hoping John is right.
I
Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
might add that the physical college campus may feel the brunt of this. Once the shift is made to any degree where it is less necessary to be the big man or big gal on campus, that's a state change.
You cut out a little bit there, John. You're saying there's not going to be a need for people to be the big man on campus? I'm not sure I follow what you're saying.
Well, this is going to hasten the shift to online learning. And I think that the idea that the physical college campus can expand and expand and expand, that is over with.
Yeah, you're kind of the quality of your connection, John, is really kind of getting slim. Let me ask you a question, John. Do you have a cell phone, John?
Let me find it. If I can't get back with you, we'll try again some other time.
Very good. Thanks for calling in, John. I appreciate it. And if you want to try back with your cell phone, we'll stick around for a little bit longer and see if that works better.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. So go ahead.
I think John was trying to say something like that this is going to reduce the need or the trend that has been happening where we've been expanding public colleges, maybe? Does that sound like what you got out of what he was trying to say?
Yeah, like maybe it's something like that. Something about expanding colleges, and maybe we're going to be going to more of a virtual education where people are doing more things online. Something like that, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's what he was trying to get at, but that seems counter to the other, was being talked about. I don't know why we would. Well, I guess unless he's thinking along these lines that if you try to keep people away from each other, that the places where radicalism kind of rose in the past, at least, was mostly on college campuses, and I'm thinking back to the 60s and 70s. Recently, there hasn't been very much of it. Maybe that's what he was trying to get at.
Gotcha. Yeah. And that's what I'm thinking too, Valdi. That's when I'm connecting it to the election cycle right now. So I'm not sure you and I see this exactly the same way, but let me just spell it out how I see it, and then you can comment if you want to. But I see right now is there was, just like we saw in 2016, there was a major battle within the Democratic Party, and the battle was between the progressives. And when I say progressive, that modern word progressive really means what, in the 1970s we would just call an ordinary Democrat. The people that were the Democratic Party was the party of the workers. It was the party where that was supposed to, be concerned about individual rights as opposed to the rights of corporations. It was the party of peace. So what I have seen is, this gradual and, smarter people than I have, like Thomas Frank and like Ralph Nader and Chris Hedges, have gone into the history and taken it back into the 1970s, like this Powell memo as the beginning of the modern, turning the Democratic Party into a party of elites, at least a party that's controlled by elites. So there was this battle between these, the elites of the party, and then the mainstream, the rank and file Democrats that really want somebody that's going to represent their values, and that's the values of working families and the values of union members and people that care about custodianship of the environment. And so, just like in 2016, what we saw is that the party elites installed a corporatist. And the same thing is happening now. And what I was getting the feel for, I was screaming in 2016, I was begging for people to get outraged. And everybody just seemed to be very stunned. All the Democrats seemed to be stunned. And I thought when Bernie got cheated, I thought everybody should have been rioting in the streets and shutting things down, and everybody just kind of transferred and went over to Hillary Clinton and just kind of like, hold your nose and vote blue. So this time around, things were really different. I was getting a sense that things were really different, that people they were fed up. They were fed up with the corruption of the party elites, and they were getting ready to shut things down. They were inspired by the Yellow Vests movement in France, and a lot of these revolutionary movements that have been happening all over the world. And this is just, I find it very, very, and like I said, I can't understand the mechanisms either, and I can't understand all the motives either. I'm finding it very curious that right at this time, when this virus hits, the economy tanks, and also it's this power struggle among elites to try to get control of basically the free world. Whoever controls the United States controls the free world. So I'm looking at the convergence of all these different things, and it's a tremendous coincidence. And now we're in lockdown, so there's not going to be any Yellow Vest protests because nobody can basically leave their house. What do you think? Valdi?
To say, hey, we can hurt the economy by not buying anything. People were actually advocating this openly to. I think there was maybe a few weeks ago, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, I can't remember now, they're saying, well, let's everybody on Monday not go buy anything.
Yep.
And here we are. It's now happening from the other end, where people are staying home because they're told to stay home and not buy anything, and non-essential businesses are being told to not report to work and try to work from home if that's possible, and that type of thing. But what's weird is if that's being done for what you just expressed, it just seems like it's an extreme thing to do even for that, because they've been very effective over the last 4.5 decades of creating the squeeze on people without doing this severe hit to the economy and keeping people home. So I'm kind of skeptical on that this is somehow purposely planned and executed to. I don't really see that people are going to really go out and massively protest it, because there's no triggering event that's that strong. I mean, if I could see something, if Trump got reelected, for example, then I could see maybe people getting out in the streets. But that's not going to happen until November.
No, 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 no. That the people are not happy with Joe Biden. The majority of the people are not going to put up with Joe Biden. They're going to stay home, or they're going to vote for Trump, or they're going to get into the streets. This is what I was hearing. This is what I was seeing up until. But you're right. You're kind of right. Is that was somewhat diffused by the fact of how it all went down, how it all played out, in that, Barack Obama called up, and convinced 3 of the leading candidates to back out of the race just prior to Super Tuesday, leaving just basically Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. And everybody got scared, and everybody was told, vote for Joe Biden, vote for Joe Biden. We got, he got some very high profile endorsements, bizarrely, because he was getting endorsements. I can't even remember all the ones that he got, but he was, Joe Biden is a chameleon. He says, he's a pathological liar. Nobody trusts him. He's got a long history of groping kids and being an international gangster, like that whole Burisma scandal in the Ukraine. And he's losing it mentally. So he's got so many, and also, what about, he won double-digit leads over Bernie Sanders in states that he never set foot in. He never did any campaigning in. So there's so much that, go ahead.
That's the frustrating thing, is he has put in minimal effort on this. California, he had one campaign office in the entire state, and the reporter went there, and it was padlocked. I don't remember exactly when this was, but it's sort of like he's coasting into this, and then people have put out reports where they've done like exit polls, and the error between the exit polls in terms of who actually they said they supported doesn't match within 4% of what the actual vote tally was, and that it just if those reports are accurate, then again, what's going on here? And I don't know if people were really serious about actually going out and doing mass protesting. The problem with a rolling primary season is that there isn't any one super strong event.
I got to turn it up, don't I? There we go. Okay. Do you remember enough, like what you said, to be able to repeat that, Valdi? Because I had an audio problem I just had to remedy. I'm sorry about that. Can you just repeat that, please?
I guess what I said was that with primaries coming kind of in sequence, so they're not all at the same time, although Super Tuesday was a whole bunch of states, I can't remember how many it was. People that, on social media, they say that they want to go out and protest. When people are working, or they have to, get their college coursework done, or go to class or whatever, even if they suspect that there's some type of poll discrepancies going on, and it's difficult to prove. There doesn't seem to be any one single event that is strong enough to trigger people to actually go out and really mass protest. And even from what I've seen, there's lots of people that say they care about climate change, but even when you offer a free bus ride to Washington D.C. to go protest, you have difficulty filling up the bus. Or even if you want to get a bus full of people to go to Albany to protest, it's really difficult to get people to do it. So I don't know. I wish people would kind of care more about who they're gravitating to, and it is annoying when people just kind of give Joe Biden a pass on all this stuff, and they just want to circle the wagons. And with him putting in very minimal effort, and I guess one thing I mentioned which was surprising to me is that he had just one campaign office in all of California, and somebody went and checked on it, and it was padlocked. Tuesday. So he has put in very, very little effort, and now where is he? He's been missing in action now for days. Bernie's been out putting, conferences together on dealing with this coronavirus crisis and making recommendations as to how the government should provide assistance to people, paid family leave, sick leave, and giving people assistance, and talking about forgiving student debt, and those are excellent ways to stimulate the economy, because that's what you need to do, is you need to stimulate it from the grassroots level, not by giving corporate bailouts. So, to answer this woman in Vermont there, the video you played, if they truly do emphasize bailouts to corporations, and they just give a feeble response to people and do a means testing where what I saw proposed yesterday was leaving out people that didn't even pay taxes last year. That's just plain foolishness, because you got people out there suffering that already had run out of unemployment, and maybe some people work under the table so that they can scrape a living by. So they don't have a record of working. And yes, that's not legitimate, but they're doing it because they feel they have to. So to not provide assistance to them, and only to provide assistance to people that are paying a reasonable amount of taxes, and about having a minimum check of just $600 if you were paying a low amount in taxes, and then going up to $1,200 per person if you made up to $75,000, I think it was, and then maybe $2,400 for a couple if they were making some number. I don't remember what that number was. But that's just not enough, especially if they start handing out, tens and hundreds of billions of dollars to corporations, and then now there was reports I saw that the Federal Reserve is providing low-interest loans. They're talking about providing not just weekly loans, but daily loans of $1 trillion a day at zero interest to the banking system to prop up finance and big banks.
Yeah.
So,
right. $1 billion is a lot of money. $1 billion is a lot of money, and they're talking about trillions daily. It's a staggering amount of money. You're absolutely right. And I do agree with you also, where you were like, let's forget about the means tests for a moment. Let's not even worry about if we give $1,000 to a billionaire. It doesn't even matter. It's like, let's just get the money. If we're going to shut everything down, you have to get money into the hands of the people. Now, one of the reasons why, I don't know how much of my show the other day that you had tuned into. I don't know how much you had watched, but I did a whole show about peak oil, and So, one of the things about peak oil is when you're on the backside of Hubbard's Peak, the people have thought about that and described exactly what life is going to be like on the backside of Hubbard's Peak. And one of the things is one of the first industries that's going to go away permanently is the airline industry. So, what do we have right now? We have the airline industry they're all asking for bailouts. We have Boeing is asking for a bailout because their stock has taken a huge hit. I think they've lost a third of their stock value or more. Maybe it was even more, maybe two-thirds. Um, and I think it's American Airlines is also looking for, maybe not America. One of the big major air carriers is looking for a big bailout too. So I'm thinking that the the reason the stock, or one of the primary reasons why the stock market crashed, is because of the instability in the energy markets right now. Look at the success that we've had in stopping pipelines and stopping fracking all over the place. So I think that for a 10-year sustained effort in the beyond extreme energy people and the end fossil fuels, keep it in the ground, all these different movements have been really very, very, very successful in getting banks, putting pressure on investment houses to divest from fossil fuels. It's been a hugely successful movement. So I just think that the crash of the energy sector is we're seeing the old paradigm dying, the old fossil fuel paradigm dying, and unfortunately, it's going to cause huge shocks to the economy. And peak oil perfectly predicts this. And we are just seeing today, if we just forget about the fact that this is all supposedly being caused by a virus or a pandemic, a lot of the conditions that we are seeing today are perfectly predicted by peak oil.
Yeah, that's certainly coming, and I know that those prices were really wildly fluctuating and have collapsed in many, for both oil and gas recently. So I think it was Chesapeake per share for the stock, and I think it was up over $60 or something. Maybe 10 years ago, whenever the fracking was starting to boom.
Last I checked, it was trading at.
I,
Last I checked, it was trading at 20 cent, below 20 cents.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're going to end up with a big change in our economy, regardless of what else is going on. But there was at least good news. I don't know if you've seen the announcement by New York State of a huge amount of renewable energy projects that have been approved and put out for bid. There was a map that was on New York State Gov website. They're all across the, upstate New York. There's some solar farms that are around 100 to 200 megawatts. Those are massive solar farms. We went to the opening of the 6-megawatt solar farm that was in Castle Creek. That covers roughly 40 acres. So I haven't done the math, but the 100 or 200 megawatts is a massive area. And then there's some wind farms as well that got brand new. There's like one or two brand new ones, and then there's several that they're repowering. In other words, probably putting more efficient turbines on the top of the towers to produce more power from the existing structures. So there is some good news happening too. It just needs to happen much faster. I haven't heard anything recently on the offshore wind. I know that that's close to being bid out and approved. I think some have, but there's still more areas that has been designated for offshore wind that still remains to be bid out. So I hope that they accelerate that.
Do you happen to remember where it was that you saw this? I think I heard you say 100 megawatt solar farm. That's in New York State.
Yes. Hold on, I might still have it open somewhere in a tab. 21 large-scale renewable energy projects. So it's at governor.ny.gov, and let's see, it's I can come up with it here. $2.5 billion in direct private investment to create over 2,000 short and long-term jobs, enough power to provide power to 350,000 New York homes, carbon emissions reduction equivalent to taking nearly 300,000 cars off the road. Let's see if I can find where here.
Because 100 megawatts is a staggering facility. That's really a very that would be a very large solar farm. I mean, that's like
Here we go. There's a place called Conquest, which I looked it up on Google Maps. It was north of Syracuse somewhere. It's called Garnett Energy Center. It's 200 megawatt solar facility, and then they're going to have 20 megawatts of energy storage as well associated with it. They don't have to be in the same spot. They can be just done in conjunction with it. Then there's several that are either 20 or 19.99 megawatts. I think sometimes they round, sometimes they don't. There's 1, 2, 3 in the Mohawk Valley area that are almost 20 megawatts. There's one called Highview in the town called Castile, Castile. In the Finger Lakes, it's called Highview Solar. Castile, again, is the name of the town. Then in the North Country, there's at the Northside Energy Center, they're going to build a 180 megawatt solar facility in the towns of Brashear, Messina, and Norfolk. And I don't know if they're totaling between the three towns or whether they're going to have 180 in each. It's not clear from their wording here. And then there's another place, Hounsfield and Watertown. They're going to have something called Greens Corner Solar. That's 120 megawatts. Southern Tier, and they're calling Southern Tier all the way out west. They're calling they're labeling Cohocton as part of the Southern Tier. So that's repowering an existing wind farm, Cohocton Wind Project. That's going to increase the renewable capacity by 35.8 megawatts in the town of Cohocton. The Prattsburg Wind Farm is going to build that's a new wind farm. That's 145 megawatts. The towns of Avoca, Cohocton, Prattsburg, and Wheeler. Then there's another smaller one, 20 megawatts, Sun East Valley. That's actually going to be in Owego. I don't know where that's going to be, but that would be interesting to know because it's only maybe 12 miles west of here. And then there's a massive one, South Ripley Solar and Storage. This is now western New York. It's 270 megawatts, accompanied by 20 megawatts of energy storage, and this is in the town of Ripley, Ripley. So that's another big one. So the massive projects are going to be starting here. This is not... They've got the names of the companies that are doing this already, so this is not they're planning on it. This is construction's going to start. They've gone through the siting and approval process and all of it. So this is fantastic news, and I put out a Facebook post on this, but people out there, many people just don't. They will be concerned about this coronavirus as a crisis, but you try to get people's attention on climate change, and people are like, yeah, we've heard about that, and nobody gets excited, So to get people to care about this, to make phone calls, is really difficult, and it's very frustrating to me. But at least some positive news is coming, so that's what I wanted to bring out. So
Yeah. So the right. So the posit. You know so. Uh, so the first thing you mentioned was you were talking about those incredible sized solar and wind facilities, and I just want to say that even as big as 10 megawatts is, or 20 megawatts, for 10 megawatts we really need 100 of those to equal like one of the reactors at Indian Point, which is about a gigawatt. Um, so we still have a long ways to go to. I mean, it's great that we're getting what we're getting, but I worry that we just don't have the base load capacity that we need to really replace some of these big frac gas power plants like CPV Valley, to get rid of all the coal plants and even the nuclear. I don't know how you feel about nuclear, because it seems like the environmentalists are really split on nuclear. Do you want to comment on that real quick?
sure, my feeling on nuclear is yes, it is a danger, and you're always. It's like you're trying to keep the devil corked up in a bottle, basically. So you have to do everything that you can to make sure that you don't have a massive accident. So there are newer designs that will shut down safely on their own. Even if it loses all external power, if all the control systems fail, if personnel make all the wrong decisions or whatever, they will still shut down safely. Those reactor designs are out there, but we don't have time to build nuclear reactors. Some people are saying, well, we need to go nuclear because we need to build up the base load because the renewable energy is variable, and we just don't have the time. So we need to hurry up and put up as much renewable as we can, as fast as we can. There's legislation in the works in New York State to streamline the bureaucratic review process, to standardize some things, and some of that can be beneficial if it's done the right way. Because right now, wind in particular, it's very easy to stop them with a fear campaign, because a lot of it's controlled from the town level, and many of these towns don't have any expertise within the towns, and they are scrambling to try to write their own laws to deal with this. And while they're doing that, there's a lot of opportunity to generate a fear campaign to stop it. So if there's more of a standardized thing from the state that says, hey, these are what the setbacks should be, this is the review process, and if you meet these requirements, then you minimize the ability to just stop them just because of somebody just pointing to nonsense stuff. People point to stuff that is just plain ridiculous. They claim that it interferes with people's hearing aids and pacemakers and all kinds of wild claims to try to create fear. But anyway, the main thing we need to get at, which is not being done fast enough, is storage. I don't see anywhere near enough storage coming online to deal with the variability in both power production from solar and from wind. And there's more than just batteries that can be done, but that's what I see as the weak leg in this. I guess you could say it is a major three-legged stool. We've got solar, wind, and then we need to get the third leg of the stool up, which is storage. And I don't see enough effort being done on that yet.
Yep, I completely agree with you. And so one good thing from all this, maybe when people, you were saying before how difficult it was to get people involved in just going to Albany to maybe go to a lobby day about climate change. Um, and maybe this, maybe when people, even though this shutdown that we're having, this lockdown that we're having, is not uh, ostensibly anyway connected to climate change. It might be indirectly connected, but maybe when people's lives really get shocked, this is providing a great shock to everybody. Everybody in the United States and almost everybody in the world is affected by this thing right now. Unless you're really living out in some remote area off the grid, you're very likely impacted by this. Maybe this is going to get people to at least start asking questions about why are things this way, and to get maybe more involved. What do you think about that? That there might be like a silver lining to this really bad situation we're in.
I think you're correct on that. I've seen people post on social media already saying things like, well, even though your workplace told you before that you couldn't work from home, guess what? Now you can work from home. And it's happening. And, so people are starting to say, hey, stuff that we were told can't happen before is now happening, and things that people didn't want to consider, like direct payment, like what you mentioned, the Andrew Yang universal basic income type of thing, where government could just send checks to people. That's being seriously talked about, and even by Mitt Romney, Republican, and or former Republicans, and then paid sick leave is being talked about, in a serious way, paid family leave as well. So some of these things that used to be that they were goals of people, but the idea that they could actually be enacted seemed to be a bridge too far. Now people are seriously considering them. So I think you're right. There's a silver lining in this, in that people are starting to think, hey, there is a better way here. We can cooperate. We can have the government work for us. We can demand things from our employers that before seemed to be unreachable. And I hope people remember this and keep pursuing these things. And the other thing too, which I think is a nice thing, is people now appreciate the janitor that cleans and keeps the surfaces clean, does the disinfecting, the polishing of floors, all that stuff. Takes people that pick up the garbage. That's an important service. The people that stock the food shelves, the truck drivers, and what's been forgotten about is a lot of stuff gets delivered by train too. Nobody's mentioned that yet, but and of course the healthcare workers and all that, and teachers as well that are coping with this the best they can. Now people are starting to appreciate this, and as well as daycare workers that they get paid peanuts, and so that's a positive, because people that do work that is necessary, they deserve a living wage. And this is now, people are starting to realize that these people that used to be looked down upon before, and even people that just work at fast food restaurants now, some people don't have proper kitchen facilities, and they're not used to cooking, and maybe they have the ability to store meat because of whatever their living situation is. A lot of people just relied on fast food, and these people are still out there working. And the people used to refer to these people as burger flippers in a derogatory way, and now people are realizing that these people are important too. So I hope that the public remembers this and acts on it, and people deserve a living wage. People are no matter what you're doing in society, it's important. So.
Yep, I quite agree, Valdi. I'm getting a little tired. I need to stand up and stretch and take a break. And this stream was just basically an experiment. I really wanted to see if I could do a live stream with callers the way that I did. So I appreciate you and John Solak calling in and at least giving me a proof of concept here. I'm going to go back and review the stream and see if I can maybe salvage bits of this and publish these as little clips. I don't know. Maybe I'll just let this go as an experiment, since we just had two. But I'm going to give you kind of like the last wrap up if you want to like make a closing statement, and then I think I'm just going to wrap it up for now. But once again, I really appreciate you calling in.
Yeah, thank you, Bill, for doing this. And it did. I mean, the audio from John was a little weak, but I think that was his phone system with the voice over internet protocol that he was using. We had some good discussion, and I hope that you get a chance to put out a shortened clip of the XNG accident that happened at exit 2 on I-88. I did make phone calls to try to alert people about that, and I actually got a call back from Broome County Emergency Services, which I appreciated, and I hope that the Defense Production Act gets used to produce enough ventilators, because that's still not being done, and relying on the free market to just haphazard to do this. The prices are going up because people are bidding against each other, and that's not helpful. But so I guess people need to realize that this event should give people pause to do some deep reflection on what's been going on in the United States over the last 4 decades or so, and think about what is happening. With the exception of social causes, some of those have been gotten better, but in terms of people's living conditions and corporations basically merging, that's gone in the wrong direction, and that can be changed. So I hope people do some reflection on that.
Yeah, I hope that when we break society all down, which it seems like what's happening, I hope that we can all, some of us that are maybe pay attention a little bit, maybe more than the average person, maybe the people that are compassionate and caring. I hope we can do something to establish at least a framework, almost like a constitutional convention, so that whatever arises out of this great catastrophe that we are in the middle of, is something better than what we started with. So unless you have any other final statements, I'm going to close it off at this point, and thank you and John Solak again for calling in.
Okay, Bill. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Valdi. We'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
Bye. Okay, so we are wrapping up the... I gotta stop this. Sorry about that. So we are wrapping up the live stream of the Bill Houston podcast, and this was just an experiment. We had up to about 3 or 4 concurrent viewers. We had 2 call-ins, had some technical glitches, but this was the first time I tried anything like this, so I just wanted to see if it could work. I'm having trouble with my bandwidth. I don't know what that is. It's occasionally glitching out on me. I'm not getting a reliable, I need about 1,000 kilobits per second to really have the live stream work right. And I'm getting down to 62 right now, so I'm having internet problems, and maybe it's just because everybody's home and using it. But we'll see if we can salvage some of this and put some clips out a little bit later. Anyway, so I just want to remind people that gotta go to studio mode. What am I doing here? Actually, let's go back to where we were. So there's Bill Houston's fracking resume. Just plug that into your favorite search engine. I work in the public interest, friends, and I rely upon donations and grants. I do public service work and related to fossil fuel, and energy, and the environment, that kind of thing. And been doing some research into COVID-19. Not like I want to, but this was all really forced upon us in a major way. So I am trying to respond to it and trying to do some research and trying to put out some relevant content. And I'm going to keep doing that. And I've been getting really beat up over my basically just asking questions. Oops. Just my asking questions. So I'm getting a lot of abuse, but that's okay because I can take it. And this is just what I've always done: is fact check official sources. People call me all kinds of names. I'm going to keep doing it, friends. So if you appreciate, they did it again. If you appreciate the work that I do, donations are appreciated in any amount. tinyurl.com/donate to Bill Houston. And if you want to donate by snail mail, let's see. So there's my email address. There's the call-in number. I can do away with the call-in now, I think. So besides my donate link, I just want to give you properties. I'm hearing music somewhere. Just stand by 1 second. I want to add. There it was. Alright, I got rid of that. Add text. I know I have it. I know I have it. I know I have it. USPS snail mail. There we go. So if anybody out there wants to, you don't use PayPal, my primary link down there is PayPal, tinyurl.com/donate to Bill Houston. That goes to my PayPal. If you don't do PayPal, if all you do is United States Postal Service, you can use William Houston, P.O. Box 22, Endicott, New York, 13761. Checks or money orders, make it out to William Houston, P.O. Box 22, Endicott, New York, 13761. I work in the public interest. Every day I'm working for the benefit of all beings. Clean air and clean water is what I like to work on. Sustainable energy and a livable climate, livable future for humankind. That's it, friends. I am out of here. So, I am out of here. Going to be out of here in 1 second, but I just want to remind people to subscribe to my YouTube channel, the Bill Houston Podcast on YouTube. Please subscribe. That really helps a lot. Please like this video. Give it a thumbs up. And we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot, friends. See you later.